Hey everybody, good morning. How are you? Happy Monday. Here we are at the beginning of another week. So I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your family is safe, that you're safe, and that you're having a good time in between your summer and the fall season, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I hope that all of you are just doing well. Um, Give me a second to check everything. Okay, yeah, it looks like I do have all of my streams going the way they should. I've been making a couple of mistakes recently, so I want to make sure that all the chats and everything are appearing across all my different platforms. But it's really good to see all of you, really good to be back with all of you. So I know that I've been getting a lot of new followers, a lot of new people that are watching. So I always like to start off with my global roll call. That's where I invite you to introduce yourself. Just let us know the city, state, province, country that you're from. That helps me know a little bit more about you, and also just to kind of add to the global community of data scientists, which I think is a very healthy thing. And also, you never know what kind of networking it leads to. Maybe you'll meet somebody from your city or from your school or something else. But really just a kind of a way to keep everything inclusive and keep people participating. And then after that, I usually give an opening note. And then after the opening note, I am happy to start taking your questions, whether it's about, school or careers, or, if you're a data leader, you have questions on leadership, happy to take all of those. But just, that's the way I usually try to run my streams in terms of how I like, have things operate across the board here. So let me, so it looks like all my streams are running just fine. So again, please introduce yourself, city, state, country, province, and also please don't spam my chat, please. If you post your question once, I promise I'll do my best to try to get to it. Okay, I get a lot of questions now because I get so many new people. So today, like I said, I always like to start off with an opening note. Today, I believe it or not, this is my second time streaming today. I actually did an interview earlier. I did an interview about an hour ago. There was an organization that approached me looking for help guiding their students and just kind of running like a little bit of an online lecture. So that was a lot of fun. And doing things like that is great. I love helping people. And every time I do those things, it always makes me realize exactly how global data science is. Data science is definitely going into is definitely in a period where it's growing, and there's so much interest, not just across industries, but across countries, across ages, across a variety of things, right? So I always like doing that because one, I like helping the profession. But also, too, it helps me maintain that global perspective of where data science is, and in turn, where some of you are going to end up in terms of the job market, the different industries that you'd be working for, and things along those lines. It's a competitive landscape out there. It's a globally competitive landscape out there for top data science talent. But at the same time, while that may seem a little bit intimidating, just realize that it doesn't take a whole lot to elevate yourself above the applicant pool. Because anytime you're going to have a large applicant pool like that, there's always going to be the negative people who are discouraging about the jobs that are out there, or are discouraging about, what the job market looks like. But that's because, maybe they're not the elevated clients, maybe elevated candidates. They're the candidates that still need to work on their skills, still need to develop themselves. Maybe they're just doing data science for a job and not a profession. Because again, you guys know that I emphasize that data science is a profession. So on the one hand, I love seeing all the people in the chat. But at the same time, I don't want it to be intimidating to any of you, making you feel like, oh, I'll never get a job. Oh, there's so many people interested, I'm confused about some of the topics. Don't let that discourage you. If you think that this profession is for you and you want to follow it with a passion, stay engaged, stay involved, keep on developing your skills, keep on building brick by brick, right? Data science is not going to come at once. A surgeon does not become a surgeon overnight. A surgeon becomes a surgeon because they learn a little bit every single day. And, you know, they slowly work themselves up, right? So keep engaged, keep positive. I love injecting our chats with positivity and all the people that come across me with positivity, because, you know, you have to stay positive about not just the overall job market, but about your skills, about your competencies, about the work that you've put in, because that work means something, right? So I want all of you to stay engaged, stay positive, keep on building your profession. There's a global interest in data science. It's a globally competitive field, but keep on doing the right things and good things will come your way. Okay. So I want to make sure everybody, you know, kind of starts off the week, you know, because here we are on a Monday at the beginning of the week. So let's start off positive. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and start looking at some of the chats that are coming in. Syed, hey Syed, welcome. I think it's your first time. Let us know where you're from, Syed. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm getting some spam on Instagram, so I'm going to skip that. B. Borhanedine, when he's starting. Rex, good morning, Rex. How you doing, buddy? Rex is our moderator on Discord and Twitch, so thank you for your help, Rex. Hello, everyone. Today is beautiful and sunny in New York City. I'm sure it is. Guys, if you've never been to New York in September or the fall time, beautiful out there. Beautiful out there. I loved being out there during the fall time. It's nice and cool and a little breezy and the trees. That's a good time for New York, guys. Good time for New York. Fatima, our good friend Fatima from Morocco. How are you, Fatima? I think you were in the class yesterday. Thanks so much for coming. Hi, sir. How are you doing? I'm doing great, Fatima. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. I've been up since about 3 in the morning. I had this interview at like 6 in the morning or something like that. So yeah, been doing good. Been doing good. I haven't taken my dog to the dog park yet, though. So as soon as this finishes, I gotta get my act together and take my dog to the dog park. But I'm doing well, Fatima. Thank you so much for asking. Sarvesh, our good friend Sarvesh says, hello, Dennis. Good morning to you. Sarvesh here from Mumbai, India. Nice. Hope you're doing well out there in Mumbai, Sarvesh. Glad to see you. Salman, I'm going to come back to your questions, okay? Let us know what part of India you're from, Salman, but I'm going to come back to your questions. I think is it Shiha? Let me know if I got that right. I think it's Shiha, or is it Shahab? Shahab from Coimbatore, India, I think is what it is. Let me know if I'm right or not. Okay. Nabil, I think you've been here before, right? Hello, sir. I'm from the UK, from the University of Lincoln, pursuing masters in artificial intelligence. So any advice for the future? Okay, I'll come back to you. Okay, Nabil. Leo, hey Leo, how you doing? Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you too, Leo. Hope you're doing well. Kitaretsu, let us know where you're from, okay? Radio 9, let us know where you're from. I think it's your first time, but let us know where you're from. Yassine, our good friend Yassine. Hello, Yassine from Tangier, Morocco. Good morning, Yassine. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well out there in Tangier. Let us know what the weather out there is. I think it's still a little warm in Morocco, isn't it? Let us know. Naveen says fall in New Hampshire is amazing. Yeah, it is. You know, one of the few regrets I have about my time in New York is that I didn't do enough driving trips up to the New England area. I really wish I would have done that. Because, you know, guys, this is how dumb I was in New York. You know, you hear about New York traffic and the parking and all that. Well, I was dumb enough to not have one car. I had 2 cars in New York. I'm not a fan of public transport. That's just me, you know, not knocking anybody, just my own personal preference. So I actually had 2 cars when I was living in New York. And I always said I'm gonna take a trip and I'm gonna go up to the New England area and all. And I never made it. I just never found the time. I'm kind of disappointed in myself for that. But yeah, I would love to go out there. But I've heard New Hampshire is beautiful in the fall. They get a lot of tourists though, right? Don't they get a lot of the Instagram tourists out there taking pictures with the trees? I mean, there was a story last year about how some of those New England towns will actually shut down access to their city because they get too many of these Instagram tourists coming to take pictures and all that. But yeah, it is beautiful out there, Naveen. Leo says interview for some podcast. If yes, share the channel for us. Leo, that's a good question, my friend. Here's the thing, right? And you know what? You give me some feedback in the chat, guys. You guys can tell me. Gosh, my watch keeps on sliding down. Give me some feedback in the chat, guys. Here's the thing, Leo. I don't want me sharing that link to be like an endorsement of places that I don't believe in. Or excuse me, I shouldn't say that. That I haven't verified myself. So I'm not saying I don't believe in this organization, but I haven't checked them out myself. Right? You know, guys, as you guys can see about some of my content, I'm very passionate, right? If something has my name on it, I want it to be quality stuff, right? I want people to have a positive experience when they see my name attached to things. So, you know, in fact, the interview was aired live, but I didn't share that link because, again, I don't, you know, I don't know them well enough. So I didn't want to like send something out and have you guys think that I'm endorsing them, right? So you guys let me know in the chat how you feel about that. But I'm kind of protective of the things that I associate my name with, you know? So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I want to see how the final product comes out and all of that. But I don't want to send you guys someplace and then have you think, oh well, you know, Dennis endorses this place, you know. So I'm kind of protected that way. But you let me know. You let me know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Give me some feedback in the chat, guys. Manoj, our good friend Manoj. Good morning, Dennis and all from Bangalore, India. Good morning to you too, Manoj. Manoj, I think you were in the class yesterday, right? Thanks for coming. Salman says, I'm from Aligarh, India, from Aligarh Muslim University. Nice, very cool. Very cool. Salman, I know you asked some questions earlier, so I'll come back to them, but thank you for the introduction. Really appreciate when people take the time to introduce themselves. Nitesh, let us know where you're from, okay? Radio 9 says, I'm from Nigeria, but living in England. Very cool, very cool. What part of England? I'm curious. Joseph, also one of our moderators. Hello, Dennis and everyone. Good to see you, Joseph. Hope you're doing well. Leo says, well, it's not about endorsing them, but to support you, my friend. Yeah, I get that. But it is kind of an endorsement on them because ultimately they're hosting the interview, not me, right? Like if it was on my site, then I'd feel differently about it. But I don't know, Leo. I'll think about it. Or send me some feedback in the moderator chat that we have. I don't know. I'm ambivalent about it. We'll see. Bisson says, I'm from Morocco. Currently I pursue my OHD studies in remote sensing V for environmental studies and use data science to treat images. Will this class be helpful for me? Bisson, let me finish the introductions and I'll come back. What part of Morocco are you from? We have a lot of Moroccans in the chat as usual. Kaiser says, hello, Dennis. I am from Nepal. Nice. Very cool. Kaiser, welcome. Lots of, I shouldn't say lots, but we've had a few viewers from Nepal. I don't know why data science is popular in Nepal. I wouldn't have associated that earlier, but I'm glad to have you guys. Glad to have people from all over the world. I'm grateful for that. Satyam says, hello from Delhi, India. Welcome, Satyam. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Anis says, hello, Dennis. Hope you're having a beautiful day. My question is, do Jupyter notebooks have their place in the very early stages of the project EDA, or should one avoid them in the real world? Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. Let me come back to that one first. I see a couple more introductions from new people, but thank you for that. I like that question, Anis. So Radio 9, I think it's your first time. Thank you so much. Says that they're from Wolverhampton, West Midlands. Very cool. Nice. Welcome. Thanks for the introduction. Manoj says yes to being in the class yesterday. Great. We had a great class yesterday, guys. Great wrap up to the classes. I'm just really honored that I was able to teach that book and have you guys there. It was crazy. Car 7 Perez, I think this is your first time. I don't recognize your name. Hi from Miami, Florida. Welcome. Good to see you. Jay Dwyer, let us know where you're from, okay? We always ask people to introduce themselves, all right? Okay, Anis, I want to come back to your question because you're asking an interesting question, an important question. So my question is, do Jupyter Notebooks have their place in the very early stages of a project, EDA, or should one avoid them in the real world? So great question for everybody. And if you've seen my content, especially if you've attended my classes, you guys know that I'm not a fan of notebooks. I'm not a fan of notebooks once you start leaving the academic environment, right? And I say that because the rule in corporate development, in data science enterprise development, is that you can't deploy a notebook, right? You really can't. And in the corporate environment, when you're working across multiple servers, multiple data centers, multiple geographies, it really becomes significantly easier to deploy your project as a Python program, not a script, but a program. In many cases, you'll be expected to deliver your project as a class, as its own standalone object class. Remember, because your data science projects aren't always going to be standalone, right? You're going to be integrated into some other bigger package, or you're going to need to add a single server sign-on. You're going to have to add security layers to it. You're going to be consumed by some other ERP package or Salesforce or any other number of packages, right? So your delivery is likely to be a single class, right? So notebooks is like the furthest thing is gonna be like the last type of deliverable they're gonna want you to do. It's gonna be, raw code, most likely delivered as its own standalone class. Or in some cases, they'll ask you to pack it up as a library also, right? You'll be writing your own library packages. That also happens, right? So that's one of those things that you need to get used to as soon as possible. Now, can you use it in early stages? Can you use it internally as kind of like a scratch pad? Yes, that's not the worst thing in the world, but only in the very, very early stages, right? Only, like just to initially scope out like the rest of your project. But I would abandon it as soon as you possibly can. And also, Anis, the reason why your question caught my eye is because I am of the belief, we're not quite there yet, guys, but you can write this down, you can quote me on this in the future, but I am of the belief that, as I've mentioned before, AI is going to play a massive role for data scientists. We're going to be using AI tools quite a bit, and I mean that in the next 2 to 3 years, max, maybe even 1 to 2 years. EDA to me is the first data scientist task that AI will take over completely. I envision a time in the next 2 years, max, where you can just hand over a data set and AI will generate EDA in seconds. I think that's the first task that will be completely taken over by AI. Right now, you could argue it's 80% that can be done by AI, right? So that's why your question caught my eye. Because yes, you can use it for those early stages, explore things out, but maybe I'm not saying don't invest the time in it, but realize that to me, us as data scientists doing EDA, those days are numbered. I really think that there'll be some very strong AI tools to take over EDA in the very, very near future. So, and if you guys watch my video, go to my YouTube about AI can't replace me. I talk about this. I talk, because another thing to keep in mind, guys, I talk about this in that video. I close with this, that a lot of these companies are in stealth mode, right? A lot of the AI companies out there that are developing tools, they're in stealth mode right now. There could be a company like literally tomorrow that comes out and says, we've replaced the data science process. I could see that happening. And could there be a company that comes out tomorrow and says, we replace the EDA process, no more EDA for data scientists? I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen, right? Like, I could see that happening. So, keep that in mind, that EDA is probably the most likely to be replaced by AI. So, yeah, you can use it early stages, but you'll be using other things instead for EDA. Okay. So thanks for the question. Hey guys, once again, please don't spam my chat, especially on Instagram, guys. If you post your question, I'll do my best to get to it. We obviously have a lot of people attending the chats now, but please don't spam the chat. It screws up the layout on my end as far as how I get all the chats from everybody else, right? And plus, if you spam my chat, I'm less likely to answer your question. So please don't do that, okay? Couple more introductions. Shashank says hi from India. Hi, Shashank. Welcome. Glad to see you here. Car Perez says, yes, new here. Well, welcome, Car. Nice to see you. Benny says, hi, everyone from Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been enjoying your class, Dennis. It helps me retain knowledge from my master's at WGU course for great. Yeah, Benny, I don't think it's your first time. If it is, welcome. But yeah, I think that using my chats or my content to supplement what you guys are learning academically is a good way to do it. As I told you guys, I'm trying to give you guys a real world view. If there's academic things that I'm not comfortable speaking on, I'll tell you that. I've done that in my Sunday classes. But yeah, welcome. And also Charlotte's a beautiful city, so thanks for joining. Let me come back to some of the questions. Again, if you're joining us late, let us know the city, state, country that you're from. So let me go back to the very top, see some of the questions. Itaretsu, let us know where you're from, okay? All right, so Radio 9, our friend from England says, hi, I'm Ayo. I just finished my master's in data science, but even junior roles are hard to get. How can I stand out in such a competitive field? Well, who said they're hard to get? Is that social media or is that you trying? I'm asking that because it's super important to stay positive, guys. You got to stay positive during the job search, right? It's easy to get beaten down by a job search if you read all the negativity, but you got to stay positive. All right? So I invite you to view my video on jobs. I have a video out there on data science jobs, and I have my rule of 3. All right? So radio or IO, I want you to ask yourself this, okay? Have you had 3 people who love you enough to be honest with you read your resume? Yes or no? And the last time you walked into an interview, here's the second question. The last time you walked into an interview, did you walk in there with 3 articles that you wrote about 3 projects that you did and you owned from end to end? Not Kaggle, not your academic projects, but 3 projects that you owned end to end. So give me some feedback in the chat if you're comfortable, okay? Give me some feedback. Give me a yes or no to each one of those questions. 3 people reviewed your resume and gave you really honest feedback, and you walked into your last interview with 3 articles that you wrote about data science projects. Let me know the answer in the chat, okay? Looking at some of the chats again. Nitesh, let us know where you're from for your question, please. Okay, so Bissen asked, I'm from Morocco. Currently, I pursue my OHD studies in remote sensor for environmental studies and use data science to treat images. Will this class be helpful for me? Sure. Look, any class in data science is going to help you, right? The only thing I would tell you is that I'm not a computer vision expert, but I do know that computer vision takes a lot of dedicated studies. So when you're talking about, treating images, it's not something that's going to come easily to you, right? Like, you're going to take a class and then you're going to work on smaller projects and then slightly bigger projects and then slightly bigger projects. Because you're talking about correlating your class to the work you want to do eventually, right? That's not going to be a single jump. And I say that especially when it comes to computer vision, right? You're going to need to make sure that you kind of take small steps and being able to get to a point where you can handle a wide variety of images, right? So keep that in mind, that you're going to have to kind of work your way up to what you ultimately may want to do. So I don't want you to get discouraged because you finished a class and you're not able to do what you want to do right away. I think that's very likely to be the case, right? So make sure you kind of, take a realistic view of what you want to do with it. Because for example, if we were talking about NLP, well, NLP, the class skills are very transferable to text out there for the most part, right? But computer vision is not always that way. So keep that in mind. And also, you're going to need a lot of human validation, right? Computer vision almost requires human validation. So how are you going to go about doing that? Especially in a work environment, right? Because you obviously have some very specific needs in mind, for your work, for your career, right? So how are you going to validate the results of these models? You're gonna have to put some effort, some resources behind that, right? So those are the couple things that come to my mind. If you have more questions, put them in the chat. But that's what I would advise you, just kind of thinking off the top of my mind, okay? All right, let me keep on scrolling down the questions. Jay Dwyer, let us know where you're from, okay? All right, so Zunair, I believe it's Zunair. Zunair, welcome. I think it's your first time. So Zunair, I'm from Pakistan. I have currently taken admission in IST in a BS in AI. Should I pursue my BS degree there, or should I drop my degrees and move to Europe for a bachelor's degree, or should I go there for master's? I mean, it's up to you, right? I really can't give you advice on this because there's so many elements to that, right? There's a personal element, there's a financial element to it. There's the level of school. I mean, can you get into an equivalent school in Europe, or a better school, or a lesser school in Europe? It's really hard to say, my friend. I mean, I really can't advise you on this. I mean, the best you can do is to look at the curriculums, and if the curriculum appeals to you, then go for it, right? But I mean, I really can't see a different what do I want to say? It's too much of a personal decision, really, to be able to advise you on this. I mean, I mean, first of all, don't make a decision on your school just based on what some guy on the internet says, right? Do it because you read the curriculums, because you did your research, and because you want to be close to your family, or because you want to travel, or because you got a scholarship. Do it for those types of reasons, right? But don't listen to me. I mean, the only thing I can advise you is, read the curriculums. Make sure that the curriculum appeals to you, that it's giving you what you think is a good, solid foundation for data science. And if you want to send me the curriculum, I'm happy to give you my impressions on it. I don't know the curriculum of this particular institution, but really, just it's a personal decision. I mean, it's going to affect a lot of your future, right? So it's really hard for me to kind of give you that advice. So if you want to provide more information, I'm willing to read it, in the comments. But, it's a big decision. So read the curriculum, do as much research as you can, and ultimately go where you're comfortable with your university, right? Go with the curriculum that appeals to you. I'll tell you guys a story about choosing universities. So I went to a school in Washington, D.C. And Washington, D.C. is on the East Coast of the United States. I grew up in the LA area, Los Angeles, which is on the West Coast of the United States. So my university, as big as it was, gets very few students from the West Coast because, it's so far and people, don't always want to travel that far, and in California has plenty of really good universities like UCLA or USC, right? So they would hold these information nights to kind of recruit students to apply and go to George Washington, which is where I went, George Washington University. So I got an invitation in the mail to go to one of these information nights. And, I was young, so you go with your parents, right? And the way they did it was they held it at a very nice hotel and they held it in the ballroom area. But the way they did it is that as soon as you walk in, they said, okay, parents are going to go to this room for this presentation and students are going to go to this room for this presentation. So they split up the parents and the students right from the beginning, right? And they gave the students one presentation and they gave the parents another presentation, right? At the same time. And then like after an hour or whatever it was, you come back together with your parents. And I came back with my parents and I said, oh my God, I really want to go to this school. And my parents came out and said, oh my God, we really want you to go to this school, because they put on a good presentation and it was a good curriculum. I have a degree in international business. Not many schools offered that degree back then. But I was doing the same advice that I'm giving to our friend from Pakistan here, where you got to do your research. You got to look at the curriculums. You got to see what's out there. I had compared all of the international business programs out there. Back then, there were very few. Now every school has international business, but I went to school a long time ago, right? So there weren't a lot of programs back then. There were maybe like 5 in the entire country of the U.S., right? But that's how I did it. And the risk of it was that, I grew up with modest means. My parents didn't have a lot of money growing up. So I wasn't able to visit the campus prior to registering. I totally took a big risk. Like, my parents were not able to buy me a plane ticket and pay for the hotel for me to be able to go ahead of time and view the campus. So my first time on the campus, again, on the other side of the United States, 3 different time zones away from my parents, my first day on the campus was like 2 days before class started, or like 1 day before class started, something ridiculous like that, right? But I remember I came out of the metro station because I didn't have a car. I was too broke. I came out of the metro station. You turn from the metro station and you get to look down the street where all the main buildings of the university are. And I fell in love right away. The university is beautiful, right? But sometimes you gotta take that chance, right? But again, I took the chance because I was informed on the curriculum. I knew who the professors were. I saw the classes, and I thought, yeah, this university is gonna give me a good basis in international business, right? So that's kind of where that advice is coming to you, Zanair, where you have to do like the research on your own, and you have to decide if it appeals to you. And if it's a university that you want to go to. Ultimately, it's your decision. And maybe, something you want to discuss with your parents too, right? I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your parents, but you want to involve their opinion in this too, okay? But again, if you want to give me more information, let me know in the comments, okay? Portal, let us know where you're from, okay? Michael, our good friend Michael, how are you? Hello, Sir Dennis and everyone. Hope we're all good today. Yeah, I think we are good today, Michael. We're gonna have a good week. I can feel it. Ms. Lola says, I'm from Maryland. Welcome. I graduated with a degree in psychology. I used to work as a human factors for 2 years. Now I want to engage in data analytics. I am taking Google Data Cloud Analytics certificate. Is this a good start? Maybe. This week I am releasing a video on something similar to this. Essentially, I think people rush to cloud. Your goal shouldn't be to learn cloud. Your goal should be to learn analytics. And you can learn analytics apart from cloud, right? When you go for a certificate like this, whether it's Google or AWS or whatever, you're actively choosing to put yourself on not one, but 2 learning curves. Because now you have to learn everything about the Google Cloud and everything about analytics, right? Or how do you use AWS and how do you use analytics, right? So don't do that to yourself. Start basic, start small, start locally. Not everything is cloud, guys. Learn how to do analytics on your local machine with your own local code and your own local data. That's perfectly fine. People rush too much to go to those certificate programs. Why? There's plenty of companies that don't use cloud. Plenty of them. So I'm not saying you pick the worst path possible, but take it easy on yourself, right? Analytics as a field overall, is hard enough to learn, right? So focus on that learning curve, right? Make it easy to be just on one learning curve. And then later you can add Google, you can add Azure, you can add whatever, right? But if you don't know how to do analytics locally, then your overall utility to a company that wants to hire you is going to be, a little bit lower. Because ultimately they want you for analytics, not for the Google side, right? Especially if you go work for a large company, guys. Because look, this is something I haven't really mentioned before. But you guys know that I've mentioned that a lot of companies don't even use cloud, right? They don't. Plenty of companies have their own data centers. They couldn't possibly care less about your cloud skills, right? And guess what? The ones that do use cloud, like if they have like a big contract with AWS or whatever, or they have a big contract with Google, they'll give you the training free. They don't even care if you have a certificate, right? Because they will have so many training contracts built into that enterprise agreement with Google that they won't care if you already have the Google contract or certificate or not, because they'll just give it to you for free when you're there. It'll be one of their training courses in their HR system or whatever, right? Again, what they really care is that you have a solid foundation in analytics. They'll pay you for you to go to these courses. They don't care. It doesn't cost them anything, right? So focus on the analytics side, because 1, that's where the core skills are, and 2, make it easy on yourself. Don't put yourself on 2 learning curves. Just choose 1 learning curve, right? So think about that. Think about that, Ms. All right. Okay, so Radio or IO, is giving us some answers to the first one. Answer to the first question. I've had CB reviews and implemented the recommended changes. Answer. No. Hold on a second. That's not what I asked. I'm talking about 3 people who love you enough to tell you that your resume is good or bad. That's different than a review service, right? That's completely different than a review service that you're paying, or something via your school career center or whatever the case may be. That's different. All right, the rule of 3. I'm being very specific because I mean it, right? And by the way, guys, this is what I do. So I've spoken before about how I have a group of colleagues who I set goals with. We have like a goal group and we keep each other accountable. So I use people like that, people who know my goals, people who know me, people who, I've been with my goal groups for like 7 years now. So these are people who know me. Those are the people you need to get your reviews from. Okay? And what I do is I tell them, hey, this is my resume. I'm going to be investing a lot of time sending out this resume and finding a job. So I want you to be 100% honest with me, because Even though you might think you're saving my feelings, you actually help me more when you're completely honest with me, because you'll be saving me a lot of time in the future. So please be 100% honest with me about my resume. Right? That's completely different than a review service, okay? So I would recommend that you revisit that, right? Make sure you have 3 people who are going to be completely honest with you about the resume. So maybe it's not even your parents, right? Your parents tend to be soft on you, right? So 3 people who are going to be honest with you. All right. Answer the second question. I have 2 end-to-end projects and it is well detailed on my Git. Nope. And I've given content on this. I've never once checked anybody's GitHub. What do some green squares on a screen tell me about you? They don't tell me anything about you. If you send me an article you wrote on LinkedIn, an article that highlights business impact, okay, now I'm reading that. Now that tells me about you, right? If you go to my channel, I can't remember what I titled it, but it's the stream from Friday. I had a whole stream on how to put together an article for LinkedIn. So not Git, I'm talking about LinkedIn or, and by the way, I'm assuming you meant GitHub, not Git. LinkedIn, X, or Medium. And write business-focused articles about that. Your conclusions should be business impact, not here's the great code I wrote. Right? So I put that rule of 3 out there because I think it's a really good measurement stick for when you're ready for interviews. You know, when you have like a polished or a more polished presence for interviews. And like I've said, and I've said this in other pieces of content, I'm comfortable saying I've read thousands of resumes. You know, yeah, I've read thousands of resumes and I've never once checked anybody's GitHub. You don't have the time. You don't have the time to do that. When HR sends me a stack of 40 applicants, I don't have the time to check 40 people's GitHub. But if you send me a link to an article that has an eye-catching title related to business impact, I'm much more likely to check that, right? So maybe think about that. Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, but it's all about the business impact. All right. All right. So let me. Abhishek, let us know where you're from, okay? Sarvesh, coming back to the notebooks, I believe. The main part of EDA, as I understand it, involves asking questions from data whose answers would yield insights relevant to the problem. So that part in EDA would still be done by humans, right? It's a little bit of both. You're correct on both of those, right? It is about asking questions, but those questions should come from multiple groups. So this is something that we've talked about briefly before, chat. EDA is helpful for you as the data scientist, and you should definitely be using it yourself. But EDA is also for your stakeholders. Your EDA should involve a way for your stakeholders to play with the data, because they're the ones that are going to give you the better answers to the data, because they know the business, right? You are a technical team, not a business team. So why are you trying to come up with business insights, right? So my EDA tool of the future, you hand over your data. The AI tool goes through the data, and it'll give you 2 deliverables. One for you on the data science team to use, and the other will be a set of interactive charts or interactive graphics that your stakeholders can use. So one you use for yourself in the data science team room, never to be talked outside of that room. And then the other goes to your stakeholders. And then you send it to your stakeholders, and then they play with it. And then you meet with them 2 weeks later and they tell you what they found. Right? So yes, you're on the right track, Sarvesh. Just realize that it's multiple groups asking those questions, not just the data science. Okay. Cyberlytic, let us know where you're from, okay? I don't think I saw an introduction from you. Ms. says thank you. You're welcome. I hope that helps. It's good to make those mid-career transitions. Just make it easier on yourself, right? Don't choose two learning curves, okay? Satyam says, hey Dennis, I'm a B.Tech graduate in computer science in India. I have worked as a software engineer for 2 years, but I want to transition to data science. So I took a part-time course and have learned the basics. But I recently applied for U.S. colleges and got UB in New York. I'm assuming that's University of Buffalo. If I took it, I get the chance to study and work in the U.S., but do I consider to not compensate 2 years of life and would already learn it better to move to the U.S. as it provides better competition in terms of money? Satyam, I don't think it's your first time here, but as you know from some of my content, I'm not an advocate of doing this for money. Chasing money in data science is not something that I really advocate for, guys. Data science is a serious profession, right? And you got to have a passion for it. You can't do this profession for money. You can't do anything for money, right? That's never going to lead to happiness, guys. To me, that's a massive mistake. So I'm sorry, Satyam, but I really can't advise on this because, I advise on people who want to make this their profession and are looking at it from a career perspective, not necessarily a money perspective. The upside is that if you do it for passion, for a career, then everything else you want will come to you. Everything else, the money, the advancement, the jobs, the title, the promotions, everything else will come if you follow your passion, right? But I mean, if you're really that concerned about the loss of income and what money you're going to make, then you're not following it as a passion. Don't do that to yourself. Take the time to step back, reflect, and then say, hey, what is it that I really want to do in life, right? I mean, maybe it's not that, or maybe you want to play an instrument for the rest of your life or something else, right? Like, I don't know, like whatever it is, you need to find it, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take a pass on your question because, I like to train professionals in the field, right? Nobody becomes a doctor because of the money. They become a doctor because they're fascinated by the human body. They're fascinated by biology or things like that, right? I mean, data science is no different, okay? Radio 9 said, or IO says, I'm very grateful for the insight and haven't actually thought of that. I would like to put in the work. Okay, IO. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, IO and anybody else in the chat, please go to my YouTube. I have a video. The thumbnail says there are no jobs, but that's where I lay out my rule of 3. All right, guys? Have 3 people who love you enough to tell you that you're dumb, right? That's not always easy to find, but 3 people to review your resume in a very serious way. And have 3 projects that you did and that you have LinkedIn articles on business impact. If you can do that, then you might be ready for interviews. But if you don't have that, then maybe you need to be honest with yourself and say, maybe I need to do a little more work before I'm ready for interviews, right? But if you do those 3, I promise you that you're going to be in a much better position to land that job you want, okay? Syed says, I am from Pakistan. I am doing, welcome Syed. I think this is your first time, so welcome. I am from Pakistan. I am doing BSCS. I really wanted to start my career in DS. I know I have to do internship, but I want to ask that as similar to software, we make projects, but how we'll make projects of it. You don't mention what year you're in. Yeah, you don't mention what year you're in. So guys, I've been getting this question a lot recently. I've been getting it in my comments. I've been getting it in direct messages where a lot of people are telling me, I just started my program. I'm a first year. I just started my master's. I want a job. How do I get it? Guys, maybe you're not ready for a job. Maybe this is the time to learn and do the academic side of it. Right? Maybe it's, I'd like to see people think of it as a separation between I have my academic side and then I'm going to go work into the business side, the practical, the applied side of data science. Right? So take the time to develop those academic skills. What's the rush? Don't rush. Be self-aware enough to know that, hey, if I were to be hired today, maybe I wouldn't do so well in the job. Like maybe I don't have enough skills to do the job well. And if you do that, then what? I mean, the whole point of an internship is to get a reference from that person, right? Like that's the whole point. Well, if you don't do well in the internship, guess what? No reference, or maybe a bad reference. Or what if you hurt your reputation as a scientist? Remember, at the end of the day, we're all scientists. So your reputation in science matters. What if you develop a bad reputation as a scientist? Well, now you haven't even graduated and you have no reference and a bad reputation as a scientist. And you haven't even finished your studies. You don't even have a degree to put on your resume yet. What then? That's not a great position to be in, right? So maybe, you need to pause the job side and say, I need to take the time to learn the academics. Through college, I had to work my way through college, but I didn't have a data science job in college. I didn't have a business job in college. I was working tech support. I paid for myself my college learning other things, learning my degree by doing tech support at a local ISP. I was that guy smiling and dialing the whole time. Because that's the skill I had. I knew enough about, dial-up service providers and, working in Windows 3.1 and all that, right? But I wasn't out there getting business jobs in my freshman year. Like I didn't know anything, right? So keep that in mind, guys. You got to take the time to learn. There's other jobs out there. Your internships don't always have to be in data science. But your reputation as a scientist matters. Sayed says first year, yeah. And Sayed says, yeah, guys, I don't know what it is, but I'm getting a lot of those questions. At least 15 people have contacted me with that question. I just started. How do I get a job? Well, maybe you shouldn't have a job. Casual Economist, our good friend from Minneapolis. Are you planning on doing anything special when you hit 10K on YouTube? I should hit that later this. Casual Economist, you're worse than my accountant. You count my followers more than my accountant does. Jeez. Yeah. So Casual Economist is rightly pointing out that I've been growing very fast on YouTube. I'm averaging about 1,000 people, 1,000 new followers a day on YouTube, which is amazing. Amazing. Casual Economist, I have thought about that. Okay, guys. So question for the chat. Okay. Should I do anything special for 10,000 YouTube followers? I was thinking of maybe doing a watch party. You know how like on YouTube, they have this real-time counter. And I was thinking of maybe like doing a camera on that counter and watching the counter go to 10,000 and doing it like on a live stream. I don't know if that's kind of dumb or if that's interesting. I don't know. The challenge with that one is that it could happen in the middle of the night, right? So like, I don't know if I want to be up at 3 a.m. to do that. But yeah, I was thinking of maybe doing like a watch party for 10,000 and then I'll definitely do something for 100,000, right? But yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out, Casual Economist. But yeah, my analytics say I should be at 10,000 by Thursday. Sometime Thursday, I'll be at 10,000 followers, which is insane. Insane to think about. Like, this is crazy, guys. But yeah. Casual Economist says, I've never joined a random channel with 1,000 subscribers. Thanks, see it grow so fast. You are the Mr. Beast of data science. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, guys, you're watching it in action. Like, I've been passionate about data science for a long time now. You know, I share my story, how I read the book Mastery by Robert Greene. I recommend it to everybody. And this is the end result. You guys are watching the end result. Like, I've accomplished everything I wanted to. Like, I got into data science because I was passionate about it, and I got some great jobs. I've gone all around the world. I've worked with some really smart people. I've worked with some great projects. I've led some amazing teams. I've gotten promotions. You know, I mean, data science bought me some beautiful cars and other beautiful things, and I was able to travel the world. Like this is why I recommend it, because, like, this comes across in the content. I think this is why I've been growing so much, right? Because when you're genuine, audiences react to you being genuine, and this is what I enjoy in life. So, I mean, this is the end result. So I'm growing fast, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all of you. But yeah, Thursday I should be seeing about 10,000 users. Crazy. I started in May, guys. I've only been going since May 1st. Like Casual Economist points out, he's been around since I only had 1,000 subscribers. I had people who've been around since I had like 100 subscribers. So yeah, it's crazy, guys. Crazy. Sarath, let us know where you're from, okay? Satyam says, I know what you are saying. Yeah, I'm passionate in this field. But when can I earn more doing the same kind of things in the US? It's a win-win. But I'm asking your opinion as a risk assessment. The money shouldn't even come into the equation, Satyam. It's not about the money. It's about you developing your skills and your projects. If you can do that, good things will happen. I promise you, right? But when your initial questions are focused on the money side of it, the core root is not there, right? Your core root is still the focus on money. You can't do that to yourself. Again, going back to my transition to data science, and I'm mentioning, I read this book, had an influence on me. I had a learning period there where I did it for myself. I put myself through a learning period on my own, and I wasn't billing clients. I wasn't talking to recruiters. I wasn't focused on the money. I was focused on the skills, right? So that's what I would encourage you, Satya, or anybody else in the chat, right? You got to focus on the skills and developing that profession. Otherwise, you're not ready. And if you're not ready, then nothing will come. The jobs, the money, and all that, right? You got to focus on building your skills as a professional. That's got to be the root, not the money, right? Sarvesh says, definitely. I'm assuming you mean to the 10,000 watch party. Yeah, let me know what should I be doing for 10,000? Give me some ideas, guys. Give me some ideas. Leo says, I think it's because the initial thought of these people is that data science works as a web developer career where you can just learn, deploy a website with no background in code and sell it for $100. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Leo. Yeah, I mean, people are I guess, yeah, they're trying to sell like a website template or something that you can resell, and also, I mean, I realize that it's also driven by the influencer side, right? The influencers tell you, oh, you can get a job in 2 months, or it's really easy or something like that, right? But, that's part of the reason why I started this channel, that, I want data science to be viewed as a serious profession, right? I mean, this is serious work, guys. I mean, to me, it's humbling to think about that people are going to be relying on my code, on the results that the algorithms give. Like, that's a serious responsibility, guys. Like, just like you put your health in your doctor, right? When your doctor says, okay, I need to run these tests or whatever, like you're putting your trust in them, right? Well, same thing as a data scientist. People are putting their trust in you. They're putting their business in you, right? That's not something to take lightly. I mean, I'm consistently humbled by that, right? So Leo, I think you're on the right track there, right? This isn't just some churn and burn. I'm gonna tell somebody I can do a template and they'll just use ChatGPT to fake it till I make it, and then I'll sell it for $100. That's not data science. So I agree with you, Leo. I think you're on the right track there. Syed says, by the way, you are the first influencer who answered me. Okay, cool. Syed, I have some theories around that. I think that a lot of these influencer experts, they haven't answered you, Syed, because they can't. That's the dirty secret, that they can't. And they can't because they've never really worked in data science. They're just marketing experts, right? Which is to say they're stealers, right? They're stealing money, right? But they haven't answered you because they can't, because they've never been a data scientist. They've never worked in the real world. That's super common, and I hate that. I hate that. I hate that the idiots are out there, and I hate that they're robbing you guys of your money, right? But that's why they haven't answered you, because they can't. Like, there's a reason why they don't do live streams, and that's because they would fall apart. And half of them are faceless videos anyways, right? I mean, how many faceless AI videos do you see out there from these AI experts, right? It's just marketing junk. But they literally can't do the things I do because they've never worked in the field. So I hear you, Syed. I'm not surprised for you to tell me this, but I'm pretty clear. I'm pretty clear on the reasons why, right? Because they literally can't. They'll never run a live stream because they'd be exposing themselves, right? But I mean, that's why I enjoy this. I mean, this is not work for me. I enjoy going back and forth because this is what I've done for most of my adult life. So yeah, I hear you, Syed. I hear you. I'm sure you're not the only one who's been ignored by them before because they literally don't know the answer. Leo says, yes, I agree on a 10K event with a guest. With a guest? I'm the guest. What are you talking about? Leo, you're going to stab me like that with a guest? I'm the guest right here. This guy. What are you talking about? We'll see, Leo. We'll see. Sarath, welcome. Thanks for introducing yourself. Sarath from London, England. I love London. London's one of my favorite cities. I love being out there. I was last out there in February of last year. Had a really good time out there. I was out in Canary Wharf, a beautiful part of London. I love London. I've been there 3-4 times now. Such a cosmopolitan city. I love it out there. Leo says, and it's impossible to build and deploy a model of your own in less than 6 months if you have no background. Yeah. Even if you do have a background, 6 months is very short. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Leo. It takes a while to be able to deploy a good model. Yeah. I mean, even for somebody like me, if you gave me a 6-month deadline on a model, that would still be a little challenging, for a good, well-developed model, obviously. But yeah, you're right, Leo. People do not respect the time it takes. Sarah, thank you so much. From London, UK. Othman, I think you are from Rabat, right? I think Othman's from Rabat. How you doing, Othman? Let us know how you're doing. Oh man. Leo says, no, just an idea of something different. Leo, I brought you guys 4 guests in August. For those of you that didn't follow me then, feel free to go back to my archives. I had 4 guests in August, all of them directors or managing directors, because these are all my friends, right? So Leo, what do you mean guests? Something different. What, I'm not enough, Leo? Is that what you're telling me, that I'm not enough? Leo, you're hurting my feelings. Shashank, let us know where you're from, please, okay? Kaiser, did I get where you're from? Kaiser, let us know where you're from, okay? We always guys, if you're joining us late, we always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, country, province. Just let us know where you're from. It adds to the way you carry yourself. It adds to the community of the chat and all that. Okay. So Rath asks, what practices are needed to stay in the current industry practices? Any tips to get a job in the market? Thank you. Okay, Sarat, so you're asking two questions. Tips for the job market. Please check out my video. I just deployed it 2 weeks ago. It's a big thumbnail that says there are no jobs. I give you a couple of tips in there, so please view that. Current industry practices. That's the more important question. Or that's the more interesting question. Okay. And what I would tell you there, well, there's two industries you want to track, right? There's two industries. One is that are occurring there, and two, you want to track the industries that interest you from a domain knowledge perspective. Like maybe you want to go into banking, or maybe you want to go into mining or something like that. You're going to want to monitor both of those. You're going to want to monitor the data science side to keep up with new developments, the new libraries that are out there, the new tools, so on and so forth. Personally, I will read white papers. And I read white papers not to implement them right away, but more just to kind of feed my brain and help me understand where the research and where teams are going. I think it's a mistake to read a white paper and then implement it. So I don't do it for that. I do it more just let me see where the research teams are going, right? Or what new techniques are emerging. Or maybe you read somebody being really creative with data in a white paper. I really like those kinds of white papers. So you kind of got to keep track of that, right? And then on the industry side, like the domain knowledge side, keep up with the industry news, with the industry trade journals. What are some of the emerging trends in that industry? What are some of the legal risks in that industry? What does the government think of that industry? You got to start thinking of those, because that's the way you're going to develop new ideas for projects. That's the way you're going to be more a better candidate in the interviews, right? To show that, hey, I've been keeping up with these, or hey, I read this article and I think a model could be developed for X, Y, and Z, right? So I would say you kind of got to keep up with both of those, right? What's happening in data science, and then what's happening, like domain knowledge wise. I think both of those are really key. So I hope that helps, Sarah. But I think you're asking really good questions there, right? And if you keep up with those, I think you're going to be in a pretty good spot for that, okay? So Leo says, imagine a 10K episode where Dennis interviews Dennis. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Send me a direct message later on if you guys have ideas, or if you want to join our Discord. The Discord link is in the chats. We've been getting a ton of members on Discord also. But yeah, I might do something for that. Like I said, I'm tempted to just do the watch party to watch it go over to 10,000, because guys, I just started on May 1st. That's like what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago? Like I would have never thought I had 10,000 on YouTube. Jeez. I'm over 21,000 on Instagram. Like that's crazy. Like that's super crazy, right? Like I don't know. It's been a crazy summer, guys. Crazy summer. But really appreciate all of you. Really appreciate the time we spent together. I stream every day at 1500 GMT. And by the way, my records show that today is my 50th stream in a row. So I'm halfway to my goal of streaming for 100 days in a row. So believe it or not, today is number 50. So thank you so much to all of you for your support. I'm just talking about things I enjoy, guys, and I'm just trying to help as much as I can. So thank you so much for your support.